Hey guys, in today's tutorial, you will learn how we can create this beautiful motion graphic effects using the Blender geometry nodes. And the problem you will learn in this tutorial is that how we can make this hex pattern and closely pack them so we have a regular gap in between them. And in the second layer of this hex pattern, how we can use the delete geometry node to delete some points and get this structure. And if you like these kind of procedural motion graphic effects, then you can visit my Patreon where you find a lot of procedural stuff along with the original Blender files. So how we can create this? Now let's begin the tutorial. Alright, we are in Blender and here I select this cube or any mesh you have in 3D viewport and directly enter into the geometry node workspace. And here I hit this new button to create a new node tree. Delete this input and here I am going to start with the mesh line. Pressing Shift A, here I search for the mesh line. Place it here and connect this with the group output. Now we have this single mesh line in our 3D viewport having 10 points. You can see 10 number of count, but here I only want 1. And now we have a single point in our 3D viewport. Nice. And now here I search for the instance on point node and place it here. Here I search for the grid and connect this with grid the instances of the instance on point. Now we have this plane and here I make some changing into this grid. Here I increase the size of this grid to 10 meter large, something like that, and also increase these vertices x and y axis to 20. You cannot see this change because we are in solid view, and here if you are in wireframe view, then you can see these. If I change this, you can see this change back to the 20 and also back to the solid view. Now we have this kind of mesh, and here we place it here, and here I use another instance on point, which we can use the hex pattern or hex on these points. And here I search for again instance on point node, place it here, and move these guys here. Here I search for the node which is the cylinder and place it here and connect this cylinder with the instances. Now we have the cylinder on the instances of this node, and here I make some changing to this, and here I reduce these vertices to 6, and now we have this hex sides of this cylinder, and also here I decrease their radius and depth. First I decrease their radius very small, something like you can see, I think here is looking nice, and also decrease their depth very small, something like that. Now we have this beautiful hex pattern in our 3D viewport. Now you can see, and here I make the bevels of the sides of this cylinder or a hex pattern, whatever you called. And here in the 5.2, you have a new mesh bevel node. And in the previous Blender version, we use these hex pattern outside of the geometry and then bevel using the bevel modifier or any other. And here in 5.2, we use the mesh bevel to bevel these hex pattern. And here I search for the brand new mesh bevel and place it here. Now you can see the value of this mesh bevel is very large for these hex pattern, and here I decrease their value. Here I drag this all for offset, and here I make some value 0.01, very small, and here you can see a very single segment bevel, and here I increase this value to increase the segment. Now we have this. You can see these are not fully smooth. So for that, here I Control Z to back this, and here I search for the set shade smooth and place it here. Now our bevel is fully smooth. Now we have this. Now I want these hex patterns are closely packed with each other, and we can see the regular gaps in between them. So for that, we first enter into the top orthographic view and place it here, and we can only fill these gaps in regular patterns if we move every other these rows of these hex and place this accordingly. So first here I rotate this along the z-axis to 90 degree. So we have this kind of pattern. And if I rotate every other rows and fill these gaps, something like that. For that, here we do some changings in this grid. After this grid, because this grid represent all of these points on which we use this cylinder as instances. So we do the changings here. So we want to move every other rows of this. So for that, here I search for the set position node and place it here. And this is this red line is represent the x-axis. So we can move this, and here you can see the whole structure is moving along the x-axis. Now here to separate these offset values, here I search for the combine x, y, z, place it here, and connect this with the offset. Now we use this x value as the input. Now here we make some mathematics to do this. So for that, here I search for the math node and place it here. And here you convert this to the multiply and put it into the x direction. This x. Now you cannot see any changings. And, here I shift D to duplicate this and connect this with the multiply of the first. And this second multiply, I change this into the terminated modulo. And you can see the structure is going back. And here I want every other vertices. So for that, here I first search for the index node and connect this with the terminated modulo. And here I want every other lines. So for that, here I press 2, and now here you can see the changings. And every other lines of these hex are moved according to this x-axis. And this multiply can control their strength. And now here I move this along the x-axis every other, and here you can see in middle or something like that. Nice. Now there is a large gap in between these rows. So for that, we make some changings in y direction. We decrease their size along the y-axis so we can closely back these hex pattern. Here I decrease this value, something like that. Now we have this very close regular gaps in between these hexagons, and this is looking so nice. And here I want to make another copies of this set. So for that, here I again here I search for the join geometry, and not again first time. And here I select all of these nodes and shift D to duplicate this and place it here. Here I connect this with the other layer of these, and you cannot see the difference because these two hex pattern are placed on each other because the values in these nodes and these nodes have the same value. So for that, to move this along the z-axis, here I search for the set position node and place it here. Here I move this along the z-axis. So for that, here I increase this value so we can see something like that. Now we have two stacks of these hex pattern. And on this upper stacks, I want to delete some hex patterns. So for that, here we back into the grid. We know this grid give the points, and this instance on point place the cylinder or a hex pattern on these points. So I want to delete some of these point onto the upper grid. So for that, here I delete the points in this grid, and here I search for the delete geometry and place it here. And you can see our whole upper stack of the hex pattern is gone. And here I make some changing in this selection. So for that, here I search for the random value node and change this random value from float to the boolean and connect this with the selection. Now our geometry is coming back, and some of these points based on this probability are deleted from this grid. Now we have this beautiful pattern. The lower stack has a fully points and the upper stack has a sum of points are missing due to this random value probability. Now we have this, and I want to make the color for these hex pattern. So for that, I want both of these tags having the same color. So for that, here I search for the set material node and place it here. And here in the material properties, I create a new material and grab this material into the geometry node workspace. Now our material is set in geometry node workspace, and now we enter into the material workspace, and we have this material. Also, we enter into the shading viewport. Here I want to make some changings. I want a very simple material on this hex pattern. So for that, here I select this and make these hex very dark material, something like that, and also increase their roughness to 0.6 or in between 0.7, something like that. Now our material is applied to our pattern, and here I want to add the background. So here in the bottom of these tags, I want to add some emission mesh from where the lights from these little gaps come out into the camera. So for that, here I search for the plane, place it here, and also scale this to cover the whole structure, and control A to apply the scale, and press 3 for the right orthographic view, and I move this plane along the z-axis, something like that. And now we have this, and also into the top orthographic view, and here I search for the camera, and camera is our scene. With selection of this camera, press Ctrl Alt 0, so we can capture our view. Now we have this, and by selecting this camera, press twice G and scroll our middle mouse button to adjust our view, something like that. Now we have camera in our scene. So select this plane, and here I want to create a new material for this plane, and I want some emission type of material. So for that, here I select this principal BSDF, delete this, and here I search for the emission and connect this with the face of the material output. Now we have this. Now I search for the color ramp, shift A to search for the color ramp, and place it here, and connect with the emission, so we can change the color for this background. Here I search for the wave texture and connect this with the color ramp, and by selecting this wave texture, press Ctrl T. This is due to the node Angular add-on enabled, and here in the texture coordinate, I use this object coordinate. So we have the wave pattern in our background. Here you can see the waves on our background. Here I want to change these waves from linear to some spherical. So for that, here I select these rings, and also from this hex, I select this spherical. Now we have this kind of pattern. Now we have this beautiful spherical wave patterns due to this wave texture. And now here I want to make this wave texture very small. So for that, here I decrease their scale to 0.2, a very big spherical wave pattern. And here in the distortion, I increase their value, distort this wave pattern, something like 15. Now we have this kind of pattern. And here in the color ramp, I change this pointer in close of this, something like that. So we use this white value as a color for this wave texture. Now we have this. Move this to make these waves some more bigs. For the color, here I select this white pointer, and here I make some this type of color, something like that. Now we have this color to these waves, this orange color. And here I want to increase the emission strength to 50, very emissive material. And now we have this beautiful wave pattern. And here in the wave texture, we use this offset value to animate this back to this 0, and also into the camera view. Now here you can see, now I want to add some composition to this emission material. So for that, first we have one rendered frame in our scene. For that, here I press F12 to render only one scene. After rendering, you can see, and we close this window and enter into the compositing. Here I hit this new button, so you can see our scene in the background of this compositor nodes. And here I add some glare to our emission material. Here I search for the glare and connect it here. By default, this glare is set to this streaks, but here I change this type to the fog glow. Now we have this beautiful glow to our emission pattern. Nice. Now back to the layout, and also in camera view, and also in render view, I use the cycles render engine for this. And here you can see, you cannot see the glow effect. So for that, here in the viewport shading, I turn on this compositor always, and now you can see the emission of these our glow from our background. Now we have this. Now I want to animate this. So for that, here we enter again into the geometry node workspace. Sorry, in the material workspace, and here I want to animate this offset value. So here I create a new timeline. So drag your mouse in the corner. Then you see this plus icon to drag with the left click, create a new window, and here I select this and convert this into the timeline. Now we have this timeline, and I want to make this animation fully looping. So for that, we end this timeline to 120, and always start from the frame 0. And here I hover this offset value and hit I to insert the keyframe, and jump to the last frame, which is 120. And here I see something like negative number. So back to 0, and here I put some even number like 2 multiplied minus 2 multiplied with pi. Hit enter to insert this value, and here you can see this is the minus 6.283 something, and hit I to insert the key. Now our animation is fully looping. If I run this animation, you can see there is no jerk in our wave texture. Stop this animation and enter into the layout view, and here you can see, if I run this, there is no break of our animation. Now we have this beautiful hex pattern with our this emission background. We can easily create this type of animation easily. Enter into the camera view by pressing 0, and if I press F12, you can see this in rendered view. If you like these kind of procedural motion graphic effects, then like this video and also subscribe our channel for more motion graphic videos. Thanks for watching.